This second session then, I want to have a look at just a few thoughts about being carers for children.
Sada u ovom drugom dijelu volio bih da malo razmišljam o tome kako je to biti njegovatelj djece.
This is where my own experience is in caring for a child.
U tome imam jako puno iskustva zato što sam i sam takav njegovatelj.
I'd like to start off with this poem, Welcome to Holland.
Započeo bih sa ovom poemom. Dobrodošli u Nizozemsku.
I was in touch with the lady who wrote this. Her name is Emily Pearl Kingsley.
Stvarno, ova gospođa, Emily Pearl Kingsley, me je dotaknula.
And I think it really expresses well what it's like to be the parent of a child with disabilities.
Ona je doista to tako lijepo opisala kako je to biti njegovatelj dijete sa posebnim potrebama.
So I'll just read it and we'll translate it as we go along. I'm often asked to describe the experience of raising a child with a disability.
Često su me pitali da opišem kako je to iskustvo podizati dijete sa određenim potrebama.
To try to help people who have not shared that unique experience to understand it.
Pokušati pomoći ljudima koji nikad nisu imali takvo jedinstveno iskustvo da bi to mogli razumjeti.
To imagine how it would feel.
Da bi mogli zamisliti kakav je osjećaj.
It's like this.
To je poput ovog.
When you're going to have a baby,
kada ćete imati dijete,
it's like planning a fabulous vacation trip to Italy.
To je kao da planirate prekrasan put u Italiju.
You buy a bunch of guidebooks and make your wonderful plans.
Kupite nekakve vodiče i napravite odlične planove.
The Colosseum.
Posjetit ćete Koloseum.
The Michelangelo David.
Michelangelovog Davida ćete vidjeti.
The gondolas in Venice.
Gondole u Veneciji.
You may learn some handy phrases in Italian.
Čak i naučite nekoliko korisnih fraza na italijanskom.
It's all very exciting.
I vrlo je uzbudljivo.
After months of eager anticipation,
i nakon mjeseci željnog iščekivanja,
the day finally arrives.
Dođe taj dan.
You pack your bags and off you go.
Spakujete sve kofere i spremni ste za put.
Several hours later, the plane lands.
Par sati kasnije avion je sletio.
The flight attendant comes and says, "Welcome to Holland."
I vama je pilot nakon toga kaže, dobrodošli u Nizozemsku.
Holland, you say?
Nizozemska, kažete.
How do you mean Holland?
Kako misliš Nizozemska?
I signed up for Italy.
Ja sam krenuo u Italiju.
I'm supposed to be in Italy.
Trebao bih biti u Italiji.
All my life I've dreamed of going to Italy.
Cijeli život sam planirao i sanjao da idem u Italiju.
But there's been a change in the flight plan.
Ali došlo je do promjene plana leta.
They've landed in Holland and there you must stay.
Sletjeli smo u Nizozemsku i tu morate ostati.
The important thing is that they haven't taken you to a horrible, disgusting, filthy place.
Ono što je bitno jeste da vas nisu doveli na nekako grozno i odvratno mjesto.
Full of pestilence and famine and disease.
Puno nekakve bolesti, nekakve pošasti.
It's just a different place.
Naprosto to vam je neko drugačije mjesto.
So you must go out and buy new guidebooks.
Stoga morate izaći i kupiti neke druge vodiče.
You must learn a whole new language.
Sada ćete učiti skroz novi jezik.
And you will meet a whole new group of people you would never have met.
I srećete ljude koje nikad niste prije sreli.
It's just a different place.
To je samo drugačije mjesto.
It's slower paced than Italy.
Puno je mirnije i polaganije nego Italija.
Less flashy than Italy.
Nije toliko krasno kao Italija.
But after you've been there for a while, you catch your breath and you look around.
Ali nakon što ste neko vrijeme na tom mjestu, udahnete i vidite neke nove stvari.
And you begin to notice that Holland has windmills.
I primijetite da recimo u Nizozemskoj imate vjetrenjače.
And Holland has tulips.
Imate tulipane.
And Holland even has Rembrandts.
Imate Rembrandtove slike.
But everyone you know is busy coming and going from Italy.
Ali svi za koje znate, za sad se bave time da idu u Italiju iz Italije.
And they're all bragging about what a wonderful time they had there.
I svi oni pričaju o tome kako im je tamo bilo krasno i divno.
And for the rest of your life you will say,
I do kraja života ćete moći reći,
yes, that's where I was supposed to go.
Da, ja sam trebao tamo ići.
That's what I had planned.
To sam i ja planirao.
And the pain of that will never, ever, ever, ever go away.
I bol zbog toga neće nikad proći.
Because the loss of that dream is a very, very significant loss.
Zato što je gubitak tog sna veoma značajan gubitak.
But if you spend your life mourning the fact that you didn't get to go to Italy,
ali ako provedete neko vrijeme žalovanja što niste stigli u Italiju,
you will never be free to enjoy the very special, the very lovely things about Holland.
Nećete biti nikad oslobođeni toga i nećete moći uživati u nekim vrlo prekrasnim stvarima u Nizozemskoj.
I think that expresses it pretty well.
Mislim da ovo stvarno lijepo izražava te osjećaje.
Being the parent of a child with a disability, whatever the disability may be.
Biti roditelj djeteta sa posebnim potrebama, bez obzira na to o kojim je posebnim potrebama riječ,
It's important to remember you're not in a horrible place, you're just in a different place than what you first planned.
jako je bitno zapamtiti, niste na groznom mjestu, nego samo drugačijem od onoga gdje ste planirali.
I'd like to introduce you to my son.
Želim vas upoznati sa svojim sinom.
I have 3 children and he's the oldest. His name is Esper.
Imam troje djece, on je najstariji, zove se Aspen.
And of course, you know, as your first child, you're all excited about how they're going to turn out, etc.
A znate kako je to prvo dijete, skroz ste uzbuđeni i već kako to ide.
And let's see, when he was a little baby trying to learn to walk,
kad je bio malo dijete, pokušavajući naučiti hodati,
he was somewhat late in the curve, you know.
Malo je kasnio s time.
And he would walk with a very special kind of way of walking. A bit strange.
Ima je vrlo neobičan način hodanja.
We took him to the doctors and the doctor said, well, his hips haven't rotated in properly yet, he'll grow out of it.
Liječnici su rekli, ok, nisu mu kukovi baš kako treba okrenuti, ali prerašće on to.
But I remember one day I'd taken him to the kindergarten.
Ali sjećam se, jednom sam ga odveo u vrtić.
And when I came to fetch him,
i kada sam ga trebao uzeti natrag,
the attendant there said, something strange happened today.
Tamo odgajateljica je rekla, nešto se neobično danas dogodilo.
He must have been about 4 years old.
Bio je otprilike 4 godine.
She said, we went to have our picnic.
Išli smo napolje na neki piknik.
This is in Norway, you do a lot of things outdoors, so they've gone outdoors and they sit down and have their picnic.
To je bilo u Norveškoj, oni tamo u vrtićima izađu van, negdje u prirodu, imaju piknike.
And then when they were finished with the picnic, they were supposed to get up and go back, but Espen couldn't get up.
I onda, znači, kad su pojeli to što su imali, trebali su ustati, uobičajeno pokupiti svoje stvari i ići natrag, ali Aspen nije mogao ustati.
Eventually he got up and of course you start to think, wow, what's that all about?
I ona se zabrinula, šta se sad tu događa?
So we took him back to the doctor.
I opet smo otišli kod liječnika.
He took some blood tests, couldn't find anything.
Probali su razne krvne pretrage, nisu ništa našli.
Said, let's send him to the hospital, maybe take some x-rays, see if there's anything going on.
Onda je išao u bolnicu, rentgen, da provjere šta se tamo zbiva.
And so I remember the day he'd been and had the x-rays.
I sjećam se tog dana kada smo došli sa takvog pregleda.
So my wife and I were with him, obviously.
I ja i supruga smo bili s njim, naravno.
And when the doctor called us in to come and have a look at the x-rays and tell us what's going on.
I kad nas je liječnik pozvao da pogledamo na te slike i kaže nam što se događa.
As we were going into the office, the doctor came out of the office.
Mi smo došli u ordinaciju, liječnik je izlazio.
And he started calling his colleagues and other people and say, come and have a look at this.
On je išao pozvati još neke kolege da dođite vidjeti ovo.
So when everybody was in the room and we were sitting there,
I mi smo tamo sjedili i svi ostali su bili u toj prostoriji.
he said, I've never seen this before in my life.
Ja ovo nikad prije nisam vidio, reče on.
I don't know what it is. I'm going to have to send it to the main hospital to see if they can tell us what it is.
I morat ću pozvati, ne znam što da kažem o ovome što je trenutno na slikama i morat će ići u glavnu bolnicu, možda će oni nešto znati reći.
You know, as parents, you start to think, what's going on here?
Kako su, mi kao roditelji možete misliti kako smo se osjećali, šta se to zbiva.
Well, a couple of weeks later,
Par tjedana kasnije
we get a letter in the post,
dobili smo pismo.
and it's the main hospital in Oslo, because this is in Norway, the main hospital down there.
Glavna bolnica iz Osla, Norveška.
And they tell us that he most likely has this very rare genetic condition called Morquio syndrome.
I napisali su nam u pismu da on vjerojatno ima neki rijetki genetski sindrom, Morquio sindrom.
And the statistics are 1 in every 400,000 apparently get this thing. It's very, very rare.
Izuzetno je to rijetka bolest, jedan od 400,000
And then we
slučajeva.
started to read the prognosis.
I zatim smo išli čitati prognoze za njega.
People with this are dwarfs.
Ljudi s time ostaju patuljci.
So he would have problems with his spine. It's curved in all kinds of ways.
Njegova kičma bude iskrivljena u svim mogućim smjerovima.
It said that by the time he's a teenager, he's going to be blind and deaf.
U doba tinejdžerskim godinama postaju gluhi, slijepi.
With this sickness, your rib cage gets stuck.
Njihov prsni koš se zaglavi.
So your lungs can't expand as it should and your heart gets in trouble.
I onda, pošto pluća se ne mogu razvijati, tako i srce bude u problemu.
Problems with his neck as well.
Problemi sa vratom.
And so he'd be deaf and blind as a teenager.
Kao tinejdžer je gluh, slijep.
And by the time he's 21, he'll be dead.
A do 21. godine umire.
Now you can imagine, as a parent, that was really tough to take.
I možete zamisliti kako je roditelju nama bilo to teško prihvatiti.
Your firstborn child.
Prvo dijete.
Expecting to go to Italy.
To je ono kada očekujete ići u Italiju.
And you end up in Holland.
A završite u Nizozemskoj.
I've got that website up there because you can go there and you can see a documentary that's been made about his life.
Na ovoj web stranici možete pogledati, ima cijeli dokumentarac koji je napravljen o njegovom životu.
The documentary is called A Beautiful Life.
Dokumentarac koji se zove, dokumentarni film koji se zove Lijep život, Beautiful Life.
And the team followed him for 10 years from he was 6 until he was 16.
I jedan tim snimatelja pratio ga je od njegove 6. godine do 16.
It's in Norwegian, but it has English subtitles, and I speak English in it. But yeah, you'll be able to understand English if you can. So.
Okay. Jeste, film je na norveškom, ali je na engleskom imaju titlovi.
Did I have it ready?
Okay.
Just want to show you just the first little bit of it, and then you can.
Evo, možemo vidjeti prvih par minuta.
Mille. Nei, ikke! Ta den!
Skal du rive posen?
Nei. Jo. Du kan få en da.
Ja, nå drar den meg.
før så var du mye mer sint på sykdommen, det husker jeg. Noen år tilbake.
Ja, jeg vet det.
Hvordan er det nå da?
Nei.
Tenker du over det?
Nei.
Hvorfor må jeg ha denne dumme sykdommen? For jeg husker det var en stund med det der.
Jeg vet det. Så jeg tror det er verre hvis man... Ja. Så jeg husker at man kunne gå kjempemye, og så var plutselig bare satt i rullestol.
Men for deg har det vært bare gradvis.
Ja, ikke sant? Så det at jeg kunne gå og løpe sånn, det kan jeg nesten ikke huske.
This is the family now.
Ovo je naša obitelj sada.
Espen is 30.
Espen ima 30 godina.
He works for the BBC as a video editor.
Trenutno radi za BBC kao uređivač videomaterijala.
He has every week nurse comes 4 hours, he has to get a drip and things like that.
Svaki tjedan dođe medicinska sestra da mu pomogne.
But he's doing very, very well.
Ali ide mu jako dobro.
He lives on his own.
Živi sam.
In another town.
U drugom gradu.
And things are going better than we first feared.
I stvari se razvijaju puno bolje nego što smo se u početku plašili.
A few of the things that I've learned about being a carer. Just a few things.
I nekoliko stvari koje sam naučio u toj njezi i brizi za njega.
Number one, guilt is a natural feeling that you have as a parent.
Prva stvar, grizodušje je normalno za svakog roditelja.
There can be all kinds of reasons why you feel guilty.
Ima puno ljudi zbog kojih se osjećate krivim.
Part of the thing for me was I was thinking, was it something I did that made him get that?
Jedna od njih je bila da sam se pitao jesam li ja nekako doprinio da se to dogodi.
It's very illogical, but it is natural that you start to think that.
Nije baš logično, ali je vrlo prirodno da počnete razmišljati na taj način.
Because this is a genetic disease that he has.
Ovo je genetska bolest.
And so you go through something where you're thinking about that. And then of course, because you have a child with an illness that's just going to get worse and worse with time.
I kad imate tako dijete čija se bolest pogoršava s vremenom, to je sasvim prirodno da nešto razmišljate na taj način.
Sometimes you get tired and you think, oh dear, and you get a bad conscience because you feel that as well.
I onda s vremenom postanete umorni, a onda se opet osvijestite da aha, trebam to raditi.
So you have to almost embrace the fact that you will feel guilty. It's okay though. Don't worry about it. I
jednostavno u redu je prihvatiti činjenicu da se osjećate krivim zbog toga.
I mean, he's had to have several different operations.
Imao je nekoliko operacija.
And no doubt in the future he's going to be having more.
I vjerojatno će ih u budućnosti imati još.
And so I think it's important to grieve.
I jako je bitno odraditi žalovanje.
There is a loss there.
Tu postoji gubitak.
We have never been, I've never been able to play football with him and those kinds of things. You don't go hiking and that. No, there's a lot of stuff you imagine as a father that you just have never been able to do.
Ima puno stvari koje jednostavno ne možete raditi s njim. Nisu moguće igrati nogomet, otići na planinarenje. I kao otac kad razmišljate jednostavno morate otpustiti da ste to htjeli, kao sa svojim sinom raditi.
And it's important to go through the grieving.
Bitno je proći kroz proces žalovanja.
What my wife and I realize, of course, the grief never ends because it's always going to get worse. But it's important to keep going through those processes that you need to go through.
I ja i supruga zaključili smo da jednostavno to je proces koji će trajati i trajati, jer stvari se pogoršavaju. ali trebate proći kroz taj proces.
Another thing we learned was that we as parents had to become the experts.
Također, isto tako, mi kao roditelji smo morali postati eksperti.
Every time we move to a new town, because, as a pastor you move,
Svaki put kad smo selili u drugi grad, znate, kao pastor selite iz jednog mjesta u drugo,
and you have to register with a new GP,
morate se iznova registrirati sa liječnikom.
They have no idea, because this is such a rare disease. What is this? You tell me everything I need to know. That's what they said. We as parents had to be the experts to let them know what they needed to know.
Problem sa liječnicima, s obzirom da ovo je jako rijetka bolest, oni ne znaju ništa o njoj, što znači mi kao njegovatelji znamo puno više od njih moramo educirati.
And actually in Norway they don't really have the expertise in it. We found it in England.
I u Norveškoj nije bilo eksperata za ovo, nego smo saznanje dobili iz Engleske.
And it was such a relief to come to some doctors that actually knew about this, so we could be the patient, or we could be the patients, not the experts, and ask them all the questions we needed to.
I na neki način nam je bilo olakšanje kada smo našli liječnike koji su o tome nešto znali, onda smo mi mogli biti liječnici, pacijenti koji postavljaju pitanje i nešto nauče, ne da smo mi eksperti koji druge obučavamo.
Another thing we learned is the importance of support groups.
Također naučili smo kolika je važnost grupe za podršku.
To try and connect with other people that have similar experiences as you have is really, really important.
Povezati se sa ljudima koji imaju ista iskustva je izuzetno bitno.
Even for rare conditions like this, you will still find some support groups for whatever condition your child may have.
Čak i za ovako rijetke bolesti može se pronaći grupa ljudi za podršku koji imaju isti takav problem.
And the other thing we learned about was, because we are a family of faith,
zato što smo obitelji vjernika,
we had to work through the questions of, okay, how could God have let this happen? That kind of thing, when you have a faith, that's one of the questions.
Morali smo isto tako proći kroz ona pitanja kao kako je Bog mogao takvo što dopustiti. Kao vjernici nama se takvo pitanje sigurno nameće.
And you may not have picked it up, but in the film I did ask Espen, because he went through that phase very much, where he just hated the fact that he had this and he couldn't be like his friends.
Sada u filmu to je isto tako opisano, snimljeno je, nismo sad gledali to, jer u jednom trenutku on pita Espena koliko o vjeri i Espen je rekao da je koliko je bio gnjevan što on je u takvom stanju što ne može raditi ono što njegovi prijatelji mogu.
And peace comes when you eventually embrace, this is what my life is going to be. I
veliki mir je došao onda kada je mogao prihvatiti to da je njegov život takav naprosto.
When you learn it's okay to be in Holland.
Kada, ono što bi rekla ona pjesma, u redu je kad shvatite i prihvatite da ste u Nizozemskoj.
So, one of the questions I think we need to think about is, what's the difference between being a parent and being a carer?
I sad evo dolazimo do onog pitanja, u čemu je razlika između toga da ste roditelj i da ste njegovatelj?
Let me just mention a few for you.
Evo nekoliko stvari.
First of all, parents need babysitters, but carers need respite.
What do they need?
Parents need babysitters.
Roditelji, oni vam trebaju babysittere, da im malo pričuva bebu, a njegovatelji trebaju trebaju nekakav mir, nekakav prekid, odmor od toga odmak.
Respite is when you can go away and then somebody else can come in and take, yeah?
Da, naprosto zamjenu.
Yeah?
Znači nije da ti neko samo malo pričuva bebu, bit će ono ok, nego baš zamjenu za cijeli posao. I odmor za sebe.
Parents take their children to, sick visits a couple of times a year, possibly with a doctor. Obični roditelji, oni svoju djecu trebaju otići na sistematski pregled i eventualno ti tamo ako je dijete bolesno. Whereas carers, they are giving treatments, they have, I remember we had folders full of all your doctor's notes, the whole history, everything. it's loads of things that you have to do.
Dok njegovatelji, oni administriraju sve te tretmane koje je dijete prošlo, on ima čitavu dokumentaciju, onako solidne količine kroz šta je sve dijete prošlo i oni zajedno s njim.
And as I said, parents, they can just go and listen to the doctor tell them, this is what's wrong with your child at the moment.
Da, i isto tako roditelji, oni odu kod liječnika i on mu kaže, šta je trenutno, ne znam šta je sa djetetom.
Whereas carers become part of the expert team because you know much more about your child's condition often than many doctors do.
Da, dok njegovatelji, oni baš postaju dio ekspertnog tima jer često znaju puno više o tome kroz šta dijete prolazi, kako je njemu, kako to funkcionira, nego li što to znaju liječnici.
Now, I did find about some of the things that are available in Croatia.
Evo, našla sam neke stvari koje su čak i na hrvatskom dostupne.
Apparently, there are provisions in the law on social welfare for temporary or short-term institutional placements for children.
Da, znači postoji određena naknada za njegovatelje djece. To je kroz naš zakon, kroz socijalnu skrb.
And the main criteria are the needs of the dependent person, not the carer. The needs of the person that you're caring for.
A glavni kriteriji su potrebe osobe kojoj je potrebna pomoć, a ne samog njegovatelja.
And apparently you can have up to a year in institutions for depending on the needs of the child. That's available apparently.
Da, i trenutno je moguće dobiti i godinu plaćenog tog dopusta, kako to zovemo, tog nekakvog predaha na tu brigu o djetetu, ovisno o tom problema s kojima se ono susreće.
And there are provisions for respite care to help carers of children to be able to have a break. So that is available.
I omogućeno je da se uzme ta pauza, odmor, odmak za njegovatelje od djeteta i od te njege.
So this is what I found, that in general, respite care can be up to 15 days in 1 year. That's available.
I kod nas je, znači, to je ono što on pronašao po tim našim zakonima, da je moguće dobiti 15 dana tog odmora, odmaka od toga.
It can be 30 days if the carer needs to take a vacation.
Da, isto tako, ako se ide na odmor, onda može biti i do 30 dana godišnje.
And where the carer isn't able to care for a child with developmental difficulties because of their own illness, they can have up to 60 days.
Da. I ako njegovatelj ima svoje vlastite zdravstvene probleme i ne može se brinuti za svoje dijete, u tom slučaju može dobiti i do 60 dana tog odmaka.
So there are supposed to be.
It is in theory, not in practical.
Okay, all right.
They know better. There is nobody to came instead of you.
There's nobody to come.
Nobody to come.
All right, that's one of the things I guess that needs to be looked at, isn't it, to fight for? Yeah. Okay, moving on, how parenting is different to caregiving.
Evo idemo dalje sa tim koliko je roditeljstvo različito od njegovanja.
Parents simply have to make dinner for their children.
Roditelji naprosto trebaju napraviti obrok za dijete.
Carers have to learn how to feed their child by mouth, by tube, however, because depending on the needs of the child.
Njegovatelji, oni trebaju brinuti i kako tu hranu dati djetetu, da li je to kroz usta, da li je to kroz nekakvu cjevčicu, kako to već ide, ovisno.
Parents can just tell the child, do your homework while I look after dinner.
Roditelji mogu naprosto reći djeci napraviš zadaću dok oni pripremaju večeru.
Depending on the type of need of the child, carers have to spend hours with the child when it should only take a little while, and then dinner, who knows, maybe it's just some toast with beans, it's a different thing altogether.
Dok njegovatelji, oni moraju i svo to vrijeme provesti sa djetetom i dok možda i satima dok on uzme taj neki obrok.
Parents go to parent-teacher meetings at schools, which is easy.
Roditelj, on pošalje dijete u školu da uči nešto, to je jednostavno.
Carers have to go to parents meetings, special education needs meetings, meetings upon meetings upon meetings, loads of meetings.
A dok njegovatelji, oni imaju i posebne roditeljske sastanke i edukacije za edukaciju djece sa posebnim potrebama i tako sastanci.
Parents can take their children to football clubs, for example.
Roditelji, oni mogu dijete odvesti u nekakav nogometni klub
And then they can just take it easy on the sidelines and just watch.
i sa strane gledati kako dijete trenira.
Whereas carers have to be right in there offering support all the time.
Dok njegovatelji, oni moraju biti u terenu i pomagati i podržavati ga cijelo vrijeme.
I remember with Espen, when we moved to another school, he liked basketball.
Evo, sjećam se kad smo preselili u novu školu, Espen voli košarku.
And so he joined the wheelchair kind of basketball type thing that was being offered at the school.
I u školi je postojao i klub djece u kolicima koji igraju košarku.
But then they learned, it came out that he has a very unstable neck. And once they heard that, they said, sorry, you can't be in the club.
Ali onda su treneri čuli da on ima vrlo osjetljiv vrat i onda su mu rekli ne možeš ići u ovaj klub.
And so often you see that, as a carer, you're trying to find things for them to do, but the doors close quite often, unfortunately.
I to često je problem za njegovatelje zato što nailaze na zatvorena vrata.
As a parent, it's fairly easy to plan a vacation.
Za roditelje je lako planirati i ići na izlet.
Whereas for carers, forget the dream vacation, it's not going to happen.
No, za njegovatelje, zaboravite na pojam odmor.
I have a sister who has a son on the autistic spectrum.
Moja sestra ima sina sa problemima iz autističnog spektra.
Fairly severe autism.
Vrlo ozbiljan autizam.
And there's no way that he can ever go on an airplane for them to go as a family anywhere. Forget that.
Nema šanse da on ide avionom ikamo. Ni oni kao obitelj s njim.
Our parents that lived in Jamaica, her family could never go and visit because he couldn't be on an airplane. It's just impossible.
Oni su na Jamajci, oni nikad neće letjeti nikamo dalje.
Parking. Parents can park in the most convenient place.
Roditelji mogu parkirati se negdje, blizu.
Carers try to arrive early to find a parking space, and often the handicap parking is taken by somebody else that doesn't need it.
I obično dolaze puno ranije i nadaju se da će i neko od onih invalidskih mjesta za parkiranje biti slobodno, jer inače...
Parents are sleep deprived for the first few months and maybe years of a child's life.
Njegovatelji su bitno uskraćeni za spavanje, pogotovo u prvim godinama djetetova života.
For carers, there's no limit to being sleep deprived, depending on the disability. There's no limit to being sleep deprived.
Da. Znači, za roditelje, znate, prvi par godina onako ide malo teže spavanje, ali njegovatelji, njima je to doživotno.
Parents can carry around, a bag with all the nappies and all the things that you need for your child.
Da, roditelji, oni vam ponesu jednu torbu, pa sad unutra pelene, kremice, sokići.
And eventually, as a child grows up, you no longer need anything like that.
I kako dijete odrasta, više ne moraš to nositi.
Whereas for carers, the bag just gets bigger and bigger because you need bigger nappies, bigger clothes and all the rest of it. Dok
za njegovatelje, te torbe postaju sve veće i veće. Znate, veće su pelene, veća je odjeća, sve veće.
And one of the things you see is, when your child is young, it's nice and cute.
Znate, kad vam je dijete malo, ono je onako slatko i simpatično.
But as the child gets older, people no longer look at a child with a disability as cute. It becomes an object of,
A kako dijete to odrasta, dijete sa posebnim potrebama, to više nije joj kak je slatki, nego je više kao
And I remember my sister, her son is now, what is he? He must be about 20 years old.
Ja se sjećam svoje sestre, njezin sin je sad neki 20 godina.
And with his autism, he could be sitting and he's making noise and then suddenly just jumps up and runs somewhere in the church. At one stage, they no longer went to church because people were saying, keep him in order.
I recimo, on kao osoba s autizmom, on je znao koji puta iznenada skočiti ili nešto potrčati ili tako. I došlo je vrijeme kad oni više nisu htjeli ići u crkvu jer je bilo ljudi, drži to dijete na disciplinirano, mislim.
And so really, the role as parents, when they become adults, then your work is done.
I znate, kada ste roditelj, kako vam dijete odrasta, nakon nekog vremena, ok, vaš posao je gotov.
Whereas caregivers are basically caregivers for life, depending on the disability. It's always there.
Ali sad opet, ovisno o invaliditetu, za njegovatelje, to je vjerojatno doživotni posao. Naravno, ovisno o vrsti invaliditeta.
So let me just finish with a couple of things about how to care for caregivers.
I evo samo nekoliko stvari. Kako brinuti za njegovatelje? Kako njih njegovati?
It's important to acknowledge it's difficult.
Kao prvo treba prepoznati da je to teško.
Because we love our children, we take it all in and I've got to just suck it. It's okay to acknowledge, hey, this is hard going.
I jednostavno treba prepoznati da je to teško. Znate, mi obično znamo zagrliti nekoga i tako. Treba staviti do znanja da je to teško.
There's no shame in admitting this is hard, I'm tired all the time. It's a good thing to be able to admit that when you can.
Nije nikakva sramota priznati da je teško i da ste uvijek umorni i naprosto prihvatiti to i priznati. To nije sramota.
Be able to lean on other people for support.
Naučiti se oslanjati na druge ljude za pomoć i potporu.
Try to advocate for change, and I think this is why this kind of a meeting is here, so we can meet one another and see how we can together start advocating for changes in our local authorities.
I treba isto tako zastupati promjene i zato je dobro da smo se ovdje sada sastali, malo osvijestili te stvari, da počnemo zastupati te ljude koji imaju takav problem i govoriti u njihovo ime.
Be kind.
Budite nježni.
Be kind to yourself.
Budite nježni prema sebi.
Be kind to your family.
Prema obitelji.
And when it feels like too much, just take some time out, whatever that is for you.
I ako vam je dođe preko glave, jednostavno uzmite vrijeme odmaka, ma što god to bilo za vas.
And the final thing, always remember, you're not alone.
I uvijek zapamtite, niste sami.
You're not the only one going through this.
Niste jedini koji kroz to prolazite.
Holland is not a desert island.
Nizozemska nije pusti otok.
There are a lot of other people there too.
Ima tamo i drugih ljudi.
Find them, help build one another up.
Pronađite ih, pomožite podržavati jedni druge.
And for those of us who aren't carers of children with special needs,
I za sve vas koji niste njegovatelji djece s posebnim potrebama,
maybe have your eyes open for those who are.
otvorite oči za one koji to možda jesu.
And sometimes just offering a, hey, I'll stay here and you go and take a coffee break can mean the whole world for someone who's a carer.
Vjerujte, povremeno, čak i da kažete, ok, evo ja ću se sad malo brinuti, a ti odi na kafe pauzu, to za njih može značiti cijeli svijet.
Let's do all we can to support our carers.
Učinimo sve što je u našoj moći da bismo poduprli naše njegovatelje.
Thank you. Any questions? Any
Eto, ima kakvih pitanja, razmišljanja?
thoughts?